Greg Dickerson. How are you?
Doing great, Michael. Good to see you.
Great, man. So what did we do first? We talked about King Dollar dying. We talked about a new tax scheme. Then we talked about good old Jack Dorsey and hyperinflation. And now we're going to switch gears and we're going to go Cathie Wood and deflation. Cathie Wood is on record saying we don't have an inflation problem. We have a deflation problem. And she's actually on record of calling it kind of like early next year. So when you hear deflation and you hear it early next year, what are you thinking? Do you think it's possible? What are your thoughts?
I don't really, from a timeline perspective, I think we could probably start to see some things in Q1 just because, inflation is such an issue and such a problem right now that, that can stymie demand and start creating some, deflationary, stagflationary, environments as early as Q1 next year. I could see that.
Yeah. So this again is one of the rare spots where you and I disagree. I think there is zero chance of deflationary pressures that soon. Economic forces, consumers, wages, none of them could turn that quickly, in my opinion. Again,
well, so let's define it. So, by Investopedia, deflation is a general decline in prices for goods, services, typically associated with a contraction in the supply of money and credit in the economy. During deflation, the purchasing power of currency rises over the time. So, maybe what she's saying is that, there's going to be a lack of available credit.
Maybe. So I think I just read her article this morning. She highlights three things. I remember two of them. One is creative destruction, which is just the business cycle. I know them now. The first one was technology. Technology is going to come out and, eat the world. Two was creative destruction. And then number three, this is the one where she lost me. And this was on timing. She goes, the supply chain things will just suddenly snap back. And we will go from not having shelves full to having our shelves packed, right? Too much inventory. People are double ordering all these things. And yeah, this Q4 might be rough, but by Q1, all stores will have all things and have all things extra. And I'm like,
that's hard to imagine based on what's going on right now, getting things back on track that quick, and again, I didn't really look at the definition until today, that it's the nominal cost of capital, labor, goods, and services to fall. So cost of capital is down obviously right now because there's, it's so abundant out there, but it's hard to imagine the cost of goods and labor falling by Q1 next year. I don't know if I agree with that.
You can't. I mean, it's just,
I could see some demand side, which would be more on the stagflation side, dipping a little bit just because things are so expensive. But yeah, I mean, it's, things are so backlogged right now. It's hard to imagine everybody all of a sudden going back to work.
No, yeah, it's just, again, I think Cathie Wood is onto something. I think Cathie Wood, you got to watch the book, right? What did Jack Dorsey, as we said in episode number 2, is a Bitcoin maximalist, where Bitcoin solves the world. Cathie Wood is a investor in early tech, that tech is going to save the planet, right? And she buys stuff. She buys companies that are making no money. They have great growth, but they're making no money. So she needs deflation to have that be a winning game, right? So
yeah, and there is going to be automation that's going to help fill the gap in some of these jobs, but
not by Q1.
No. And I mean, yeah, you could put some robots in place, and like I've seen the French fry cooking robots and the burger flipping robots and things like that. But you can't have a robot clean a hotel room. You can't have robots, do a lot of these, service sector jobs. Maybe potentially stocking shelves in grocery stores. I don't know, but that's been an argument for years that we've automated away a lot of the jobs, but that's not really what's going on.
No. So again, I think deflation is. If I were to put deflation in the decade, I would think it's like 2025 or 26. Because again, as I'm seeing the world, wage inflation, it has years to go. But one of the outputs of higher wages for everyone is automation, right? Today, it's a cute little project to have the French fry cooker and the bag flipper. Wages go up to a certain point where you can't open a restaurant anymore because you can't sell enough burgers. They're going to be fully automated. I mean, what they'll do is they'll shrink their menus to like 7 things and they'll just have robots deliver everything. But that's a 2025, 26.
What happens is you get to a point to where, you can't get the help. Everything's more expensive, labor, food, everything's going through the roof, taxes, regulatory environment to operate. Eventually you get shut down.
Yeah.
Because it's just not profitable and it doesn't make any sense.
Of course. Yeah. But again, that's not that's let alone Q1. That's not next year, right? Deflation is a concern of mine, and it will certainly be a concern of mine after 2 or 3 years of inflation, right? We have 2 or 3 more years of inflation at 5, 6, 7%. Then deflation becomes a real issue, because then you take up rates, it squeezes credit, and then we come down. But
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
a
No, that's a
22
big one.
problem.
Now, if we have an economic accident, or a market accident or something like that, I could see credit markets, drying up a little bit, but,
Mhm.
the Fed will jump right back in and, unfreeze it. So,
Yeah, exactly. They know how to do that. They've done it a
yeah.
couple times. Oh man, this is a lot of fun. So when we talk about these, anything we didn't talk about, we talked about the dollar, inflation, hyperinflation, deflation, stagflation, taxes. Anything else kind of catch your radar as you're thinking about what's going on in the last week?
Just the housing market, real estate in general. We haven't
Okay.
really talked about forecasts there and,
Okay.
interest rate environment, things like that.
All right, let's hit that now. So I think Fannie Mae, I just talked about it this morning on the daily financial news. Fannie Mae came out and said, congratulations, rates are going up and housing is going up next year. Now they said interest rates are going to go from 3 to 3.3. And they said housing was going to go up 8%. That was their magic 8-ball guess. How's that feel? Where does that come down for you?
Yeah, again, it's all hyper local, but I think interest rates are huge. It's already created some demand issues. Mortgage refinance applications are down, purchases are
Yes.
down in a lot of areas. Some areas,
Sure.
it's still the same, but in more areas now, it's already having an effect. And I'm telling you, 4 is the magic number. The closer we get to 4, the more effect it's going to have. And values are only going to increase as long as there's buyers in the market. And as interest rates go up and people get frustrated, there's going to be less buyers in the market.
Yeah.
Inventory levels are still a problem.
Yeah, 1.28 actually went down month on month. I'm like, damn, we can't fix this. So it's interesting because I'm a huge affordability guy, right? I talk about it in my book. I look at it all the time. It's the one metric that I look for in my market every month. And affordability is actually made up of 3 things. Obviously price, obviously rates, but the third one people don't talk about, and that's wages. And again, as we've talked about a couple of times, I think we're in a wage cycle, right? I think the wages in Fresno, where I invest, I want to say the median family income is 58,000, family of 4. I mean, if we have wage inflation, who's to say that Fresno's median is not 72,000 in 18 months? And if it's 72,000 from 58,000, you have an extra 14 grand, guess what? You can afford a heck of a lot more house. And that's what we saw in the 70s, because incomes went up 86%, prices went up 106. And oh, by the way, rent went up 116% in a rising interest rate environment. So that's why I keep circling wages. And it's like, man, it just feels like even farm workers are getting more, and restaurants and all these people are getting more wages. And, Fresno's median income could go from 58 to 72, and it wouldn't shock me.
Yeah. It's interesting. But like you said, that's the one thing that almost never goes backwards.
Yes, exactly. It's very sticky. Yeah, wages. I did a 50-year research. I think they went back 1 year. It was a statistical anomaly. I want to say it was 03. It was right after the dot-com blow up. It went down like 0.9%, but in 50 years, it was the only time the average family of 4 wages went down. So
yeah, and it all washes. Prices have gone up equivalent, to incomes
the
going
key.
up.
You get the average income. You get the average income in the U.S. to get double. Just make up numbers. It goes from 50 grand to 100 grand. People are going to buy more cars. Cars are going to get more expensive because people buy on credit. And if your income goes up, you can buy more stuff. It's just
exactly.
consumerism.
I mean, that's what we've seen. And that's like what I was talking about, even if you have a, rare asset, scarce asset that you're investing in, like a Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies, just because those go up in value doesn't mean you have more buying power necessarily. If that's your, if the entire economy is based on that, it means that prices are going to go up because you have more money, because you're going to spend more money.
Yeah. So yeah, when I look at the real estate market, I think, again, I think Fannie Mae is right. I think rates go up. I think we've seen the bottom. I don't think they go up much. 4% would be an interesting number because that is a 33% rise off the bottom. And that's statistically relevant because that's where it hurt housing in the 70s. It went from 8 to 11, which is raw 320 basis, but it was 33%. So I think you're right. But I think incomes are going to outpace. I think the combination of slightly higher rates, slightly higher prices are offset by a lot higher wages.
Yeah, but wages aren't up that much. They haven't doubled.
No.
Some of the Some of the hourly positions have, but not real incomes where people are buying houses and things like that. I mean, if you're making, 10 to 15, you've gone, to 20 to 25,
Mhm.
that's generally not somebody who's still going to go out and buy a house, or be
No,
able
but
to
as
buy
a
house.
landlord, you like that because now your $15 an hour person who rents can afford more because that's what higher wages helps landlords. It just does. It makes our assets worth more. It gives us the ability to raise rents. And the quality of tenants right. We go from like that $15 to 25. One of my barriers is you got to make 3 times rent. If your income doubles, a lot more people make 3 times rent, right?
And see, that's that wealth gap, and that's another reason driving demand in the housing market is it's cheaper to buy than it is to rent, for the most part from a payment standpoint, even when you add taxes,
Absolutely.
insurance, maintenance, those types of things. I mean, when you were in the sub 3%, 2 point, what was the lowest we saw? 2.5
for owner occ, I think it was 2.6 something.
Yeah,
like
I mean, at that
one.
level, that's way cheaper than to rent, but a lot of people that rent can't afford to buy or aren't in a
The
position
down
to
payment.
buy. So,
They're down payment constrained. Yep.
well, it's down payment. It's just qualifying, period.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Credit, all that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy stuff. This is so exciting. I love looking at this stuff every day. How can people find you, get part of your world?
Yeah, gregdickerson.com. All my information's there. YouTube channel, podcast, gregdickerson.com.
Thank you very much. This has been a great day. We talked about taxes, inflation, deflation, real estate, all this, Bitcoin maximalist. We worked it all in there, buddy. Thank you very much.